Oh, it is. It is a Tuesday episode of Donno Daily here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. I am Alex Donno. I am taking you for the next hour or so. As we've been doing the last couple weeks, we're going to be talking mostly Miami Dolphins today, but I do want to mix in some Miami Heat because on Tuesdays, our friend Brady Hawk from 5reasonsports.com joins us. The Heat got smoked yesterday in Boston, and they've got the second end of a back-to-back tonight in Toronto. 4 games in 5 days, which seems like terrible, terrible scheduling. So we'll get some keys for tonight from Brady Hawk. We are also going to talk Dolphins, coaching search, Harbaugh, with our guy Taco Vailoa, Dave Friedman, Taco About Sports. And for the first time in a long time, his work schedule just makes it difficult to join us in the 3:00 hour, but I was able to pull some strings. Hopefully I don't get him in trouble at his job, but Louis D. Sung, who's an excellent Dolphins writer from 5reasonsports.com, is going to join us today. So Louis will join us at 3:45. Taco will join us at 3:30. Brady Hawk will join us at 3:15. I'm fired up today. I'm really fired up today. And by the way, if you guys are fired up, even if you're not, do us a favor. If you're in here right now watching us live at 2:59 p.m., or if you watch this later on replay, either way, smash the like button. Hit that like button. Let's get this video over 100 likes. We did that yesterday, I think last Friday as well. Let's get the video over 100 likes. Even if you don't like the show, just humor me, pity me, smash the like button. And even more importantly, make sure you subscribe to 5 Reasons Sports YouTube. But I'm fired up today because I've seen some anti-Harbaugh agendas out there from Dolphins fans, and I want to expose them. Like, I want people to understand who's motivating these agendas, where these agendas are coming from. Now, I want to make this abundantly clear before I go any further. I do not believe that Jim Harbaugh will be the next head coach of the Miami Dolphins. I believe it's far more likely he ends up the next coach of the Minnesota Vikings. I think it's also more likely than him coming here that he ends up getting a new deal and getting the bag from Michigan. He took a 50% pay cut last year. I think he wants that money back after beating Ohio State and getting into the college football playoff. However, there are a lot of reports that claim Harbaugh is really serious about going into the NFL. Like, they swear that this is not a leverage play. Like, he's serious about coming back to the National Football League. And this is not just about him getting a payday from Michigan and staying in the college ranks. Before we get to all that, I want to say happy trails and happy retirement to the greatest of all time, Tom Brady. Now, why did he have to leave Schefter hanging in the wind? So Schefter reported a couple of days ago, did Adam Schefter, that Tom Brady was calling it quits after 22 years and 7 Super Bowl rings. Then Brady's people initially refuted the reports. I think Brady just wanted to make his own announcement. I don't think Tom Brady liked the idea of Adam Schefter announcing his retirement. I think Brady wanted to be the one to do it. I think Brady wanted to get his own spotlight. And yeah, I would say after the career that Tommy Brady had, he's probably earned that. So it turned out Schefter is correct. Yes, Brooklyn Rob, I am going to get to that. He's talking about Harbaugh. Listen, I'm not one of these Dolphin fans who despises Tom Brady. Obviously, Tom, he kept the rest of the AFC East down for the 20 years that he was in New England. But how can you not respect the greatness? How can you not respect the career Brady had? All of us who are participating in this show right now, me, Manny Chang in the back, everyone watching right now, it has been our honor and our privilege for the last 22 years or however long some of you have been alive. Chances are there's people in this chat right now who might have been born after Tom Brady started playing football. But all of us have had the privilege of watching him play in the league and dominate the league for the last 22 years. And I'll tell you why Tommy Brady is the GOAT, okay? He retires at Tampa Bay Buccaneer, spent 2 years in Tampa, spent 20 years in New England. Brady's little statement announcing his retirement, he threw out a lot of thank yous, never even once mentioned the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick, or Robert Kraft. That's my GOAT. He's Team Petty. He's Team Petty about the way that things went in New England. I love it. I absolutely love it. Oh, so let's get into Jim Harbaugh. You know, my guy. I disagree with him on certain aspects, but my guy Brooklyn Rob is dead on with a couple of the things that he's been saying about this Dolphins coaching search. Why do I not personally believe that Jim Harbaugh is coming to be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins? Brooklyn Rob said it. Nobody credible in breaking NFL news or breaking Miami Dolphins news has been reporting Harbaugh to Miami. Some guy in Chicago who does have a blue check mark, who I've never heard of before until he reported over the weekend about Harbaugh, some guy I've never heard of claimed Jim Harbaugh would be notifying the Michigan Wolverines on either Sunday or Monday that he was leaving Michigan to become the head coach of the Dolphins. It's now Tuesday, and that hasn't happened. So I'm going to tell you that wasn't a credible report. Nobody else, from the Rappaports to the Pelisaros, even, the Salgueros and the Barry Jacksons locally here in South Florida, nobody is giving you anything serious or anything concrete about Jim Harbaugh to Miami. There's some concrete stuff about Minnesota. There's concrete stuff about Harbaugh going in for a follow-up interview to Minnesota. There have been some folks who have theorized all along that he wants to stay at Michigan, and it's a leverage play. You have credible reports pointing to Michigan, even more credible reports pointing to Minnesota, no credible reports pointing to Miami. Now, you guys know how I feel about it, okay? I wouldn't mind Mike McDaniel at all. You'd be rolling the dice on a young guy who's never been a head coach. I'm hoping that if Harbaugh is truly not in play, I'm hoping then it's Mike McDaniel, because I think Mike McDaniel can actually revolutionize this offense. And if you insist on forcing Tua Tagovailoa on the next head coach, I think Mike McDaniel is actually a guy who could design an offense to maximize Tua. Look at the work he's done with the running game and his play design there. I think Mike McDaniel could put Tua Tagovailoa in a much better position to succeed than Brian Flores did. Now, I would prefer Jim Harbaugh to be the next head coach of the Miami Dolphins, because he's done it in the National Football League, done it at a high level, and he's proven he can build a staff. Now, I see 5 potential reasons, 5 factors here as to why Jim Harbaugh wouldn't and won't become the next head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Some of these may be out of the control of the Miami front office. A lot of them are in the control of Stephen Ross in the front office. And if these factors turn out to be the reasons why Jim Harbaugh doesn't end up with the Dolphins and potentially ends up taking an NFL job that's not the Dolphins, this is a bad reflection on ownership. It's a bad reflection on ownership. Brooklyn Rob says he will not leave Michigan in the middle of a recruiting season. That's a bad move. It certainly happened before. Now, you could say Stephen Ross may not want to be the guy to take him out of Michigan in the middle of recruiting season, right? I mean, maybe Harbaugh is really considering doing it. Stephen Ross may be the one, because we know how he feels about Michigan. He might be thinking, well, I don't want to take Jim Harbaugh here now. That if I was going to get that done, I would have rather gotten it done 3 weeks ago, right? That this would be a really bad time to take him over here. So here, I'm going to entertain everything, okay? 5 potential reasons, 5 factors as to why Jim Harbaugh wouldn't be coming to the Miami Dolphins. Number 1, maybe he's not really interested in an NFL return, but he's using right now the Minnesota Vikings for leverage to get more from Michigan. If that's indeed happening, as a lot of people have theorized, then Dolphins owner Stephen Ross, who's chummy with Harbaugh, likely knows that it's a leverage play, and that's why he's not going after Harbaugh. Now, I don't think this is a leverage play, okay? Let's go back to the Tom Pelissero tweet from last night, and Tom Pelissero is credible. This is a credible NFL reporter. He said, the Vikings plan to fly in Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh for an interview Wednesday. That's tomorrow in Minnesota, per sources. The side spoke Saturday to gauge Harbaugh's interest in the head coaching job. Now another big step towards Harbaugh potentially returning to the NFL. And other folks have tweeted out and reported that he's really interested, that this is now maybe the leverage game he's playing is so good that he's making reporters believe he really, really wants to go back to the NFL. But credible reporters are saying he's really interested in going back to the National Football League after, what has it been, like 8-9 years at Michigan, and he's probably peaked at Michigan, right? Because finally beating Ohio State, and getting into the college football playoff, even though they didn't get very far in it, might have been Jim Harbaugh realizing, I've done what I can do here. My stock is still very high. Let me try the NFL thing again. So that would be factor number one. Factor number two, this is something a lot of Dolphin fans do not want to entertain. Oh, and John Marco, I will get to that. I'm going to get to the Viking. Actually, I'm going to get to that here. The Vikings factor. A lot of Dolphin fans do not want to entertain this because they live in a Miami Dolphins bubble and they think, why would anyone want to be anywhere else? It's South Florida. Great history here. You know, we had Dan Marino. We had Don Shula, undefeated. Why would you not want to be in Miami? No state income tax. How about this for factor number two? Maybe Jim Harbaugh genuinely prefers the Minnesota Vikings job over the Miami job. There's a lot of reasons why this could be the case, okay? Living conditions aside, it's very cold in Minnesota, although I love the the Mighty Ducks movies, right? And they went to that Mall of America with the roller coaster. That looked like a lot of fun, man. Minnesota's not so bad, but it's very cold in Minnesota, and I think they have state income tax there. We don't have it here. But maybe Harbaugh genuinely prefers the Vikings job over the Miami job. The NFC is easier on paper than the AFC. The AFC is stacked with franchise quarterbacks. You just had one in the NFC retire in Tom Brady. We don't know where Aaron Rodgers is going to go. So the NFC North, specifically the division the Vikings are in, looks a lot easier now because I'm assuming Aaron Rodgers probably is about to leave that division. I don't think he's going to be back in Green Bay. Some people do. I don't, okay? The Vikings have a proven quarterback while the Dolphins don't. Unproven Tua Tagovailoa. You know, for those who have been paying attention, you saw Kirk Cousins had an awesome season this past year. Plus, the Dolphins' job seemingly comes with a lot of conditions, including having to work with Chris Grier, who might be on the hot seat, right? Having to work with Tua for at least 1 year. I'm sure some coaches love Tua, some don't, but that's a condition. You know, they've talked about making the next coach keep the defensive staff in place. I don't know if that's something Harbaugh would be interested in. So here's factor number three, okay? And this is where I start to get a little bit concerned with exactly what Stephen Ross is doing, okay? Does he love Michigan more than he loves the team that he actually owns? Factor three, maybe Stephen Ross is choosing not to pursue Jim Harbaugh. And he did say that 3 weeks ago. He did say, I'm not going to be the guy to take Harbaugh from Michigan. A lot of us assume that might be semantics, right? That if Harbaugh was going to come to the NFL anyway, it might as well be Miami. But he did say that 3 weeks ago to Stephen Ross. Perhaps Stephen Ross doesn't want the Michigan people to be angry with him. He doesn't want to take Harbaugh, especially like Brooklyn Rob said, during the heat of a recruiting cycle, National Signing Day coming up tomorrow. Maybe Stephen Ross is afraid of Jim Harbaugh rejecting him again. You remember Harbaugh rejected him in 2011 when Harbaugh was the coach of Stanford and he ended up going to San Francisco. Stephen Ross and Jeff Ireland took that private jet out to Palo Alto only to get a big fat no from Jim Harbaugh. As Alfredo Arteaga told us yesterday, billionaires don't like to hear the word no, especially not twice from the same person. So maybe Ross said, you know what? I'm not even going to pursue him this time around. Number four, is it possible that Stephen Ross is letting Chris Grier run this coaching search and is trusting Chris Grier to pick the next coach without doing a whole lot of meddling? Right. And I know that my head is where a lot of people's head is at. I saw Barry Jackson from the Miami Herald tweet something similarly, that if the Dolphins do go with a coordinator versus a guy like Harbaugh, that's a big victory for Chris Grier, right? That Chris Grier would, if they were to hire a guy like McDaniel or Kellen Moore, a first-time head coach is not likely to try and take any influence and power away from Chris Grier, where a guy like Jim Harbaugh would, right? Because if we leave it up to Grier, who sounds like a bit of a doormat, he would likely prefer a young coach without an ego who won't question his power or step on his toes, because the last coach did, right? The last coach, Brian Flores, a big reason why Brian Flores is not here anymore is Flo and Grier had a power struggle. Grier won that power struggle. Flo's out of a job. 2 + 2 = 4. So maybe Chris Grier wants to have a yes man this time around because he didn't have a yes man the last time around. So factor number five, and this is where I'm going to end it at factor five. If you guys have any others you'd like to throw in here, I'm going to start going through the live chat in a little bit. But factor number 5, the Miami Dolphins brass legitimately thinks Harbaugh is not the right fit for this organization. And they prefer someone like Mike McDaniel or even Kellen Moore, which I find the Kellen Moore thing hard to believe. McDaniel, I like him. Kellen Moore, he's not ready. He's not ready, okay? Now, this one would surprise me. Like if the Dolphins front office legitimately thinks Jim Harbaugh wouldn't be a good fit for this job, that would surprise me, knowing how much Stephen Ross likes Jim Harbaugh. You would think they'd at least interview him or kind of start a negotiation, see what he wants from this job before they would decide against bringing him here. Now, to be fair to the process, okay, I've seen some Dolphins fans theorize, the Dolphins have done a pretty good job to this point avoiding a whole lot of leaks. They've kept this coaching search very private, and they don't even release a whole lot of information. Like a lot of the other NFL teams that have had openings have actually officially announced that they're bringing someone in for an interview. The Dolphins haven't been doing that, and I don't think you're required to do that by the collective bargaining agreement or anything like that. Some teams choose to do it. The Dolphins have kept it very secret. So is it possible the Dolphins have been doing some kind of a search or a negotiation with Harbaugh in back channels? I wouldn't rule it out, but I think we would have heard about it by now, and someone credible would have reported it. No one credible has. Now, you ask me, some people have asked me, why do I like Jim Harbaugh? Well, instead of just giving you my opinion, let me just give you some stats on Jim Harbaugh in the NFL. 49, 22, and 1. That was his coaching record in San Francisco. 49, 22, and 1. Got to 2 NFC championship games. Got to a Super Bowl. Was named Coach of the Year, I think, in 2013. Built an incredible staff. I mean, he had Greg Roman and Vic Fangio as his coordinators. So he can build a staff again in the National Football League. So those are the primary reasons why Alex Smith and Kaepernick were his quarterbacks. So, Kaepernick had a couple of good years in there. Alex Smith was, basically a glorified version of Tua Tagovailoa, but yeah, listen, I think if you're just telling me who the best candidate would be or asking me who the best candidate would be, I think the best candidate considering everything would be Jim Harbaugh. Okay. And yet I see some people saying the guy would be a disaster in Miami. And it makes me wonder, what's the agenda? I think they're afraid he's going to take power away from Chris Grier or even make Grier fireable. I also think that some of these people with these agendas think that Jim Harbaugh, oh no, he might not want to build around Tua. He might decide, God forbid, he wants to pick his own quarterback. So what's upsetting me, and I want to expose this agenda. In a couple minutes here, we're going to bring on Brady Hawk to talk about a massacre in Boston last night. But I've noticed this because I watch a lot of content. I read everything in the local papers. I read a lot of Dolphins blogs. I watch a lot of Dolphins YouTubers. I have noticed in recent days when the Harbaugh stuff has really been ramping up, there are a few prominent influencers in the Dolphins YouTube space and blog space who have been spinning Chris Grier's agenda and radicalizing certain parts of the fan base. Whether you people realize it or not, you get influenced. Maybe I've said some things that have influenced you. Certain other YouTubers you watch say things that influence you. You may not realize that it's happening. It's not my intention to do that. I don't know if it's the intention of some of these people. I think that they might be using their platform for nefarious reasons, but there is influence going on. And these people will tell you repeatedly that Brian Flores, not Chris Grier, but Brian Flores, is the reason for all the Dolphins' problems. That Flo was the boogeyman. Flo is now the scapegoat. He has become the patsy. Now, I'm not telling you I love Brian Flores. Flores had problems, people. I'm not telling you Brian Flores is completely innocent. The guy couldn't build a staff to save his life. And the offense was really, really bad. And I don't know why it took the defense half a season for him to figure out to make the defense play the way that they played in 2020. So I'm not saying Flo is innocent, but I'm telling you, there are people out there who are trying to paint all of the problems on Flo and that Chris Grier is completely innocent. And guys, it doesn't add up. Think about it this way. Think about it in the simplest terms, okay? The Miami Dolphins, who I've been a fan of my entire life, The Miami Dolphins have been dysfunctional for the past 20 years. Brian Flores, the guy that they're making the patsy, was here for 3 years. Chris Grier has been here for 20. Who do you think is a bigger part of the problem? The guy who was here for the last 3 years or the guy who's been here climbing the ladder of chaos for the last 20? And also, the Tua agendas are out of control as well. I would be fine with Tua Tagovailoa getting another season. Okay, let me set that out there. I make some jokes about Tua, and people think I'm anti-Tua. I'm pro-Dolphin. I'm not anti-Tua. I'm pro-Miami Dolphins. I want the franchise to succeed. Okay, I'd be fine with Tua getting another season, hopefully with a better supporting cast. But I'm not fine with forcing him down anyone's throat. I'm not fine with making it a my way or the highway that you can't even think about replacing Tua. I think the next head coach of this team should have some influence on who plays at every position, not just quarterback. If you make your coaching job less attractive by forcing every candidate to work with Tua, you're choosing one player over an entire team. Ask yourself, are you a Miami Dolphins fan or are you a Tua Tagovailoa fan? I am a Miami Dolphins fan, okay? I've been a fan of the Dolphins since before Tua was born, and I'm going to be a fan of the Dolphins long after Tua retires or gets cut or traded or whatever, man. But for as long as Tua's wearing the jersey, I will root for Tua. I think he's going to be our quarterback next year. I will root for the guy. I'm not rooting for him to fail. I'm rooting for him to succeed because if he succeeds, the Dolphins succeed. I just don't like the idea of Tua being part of the reason why you're limiting your coaching search. I also don't like the idea of Chris Grier limiting the search by forcing the next coach to keep all of your defensive staff in place. And I think it's a good defensive staff. I think Josh Boyer's doing a hell of a job, but I also know that if you're going after serious head coaching candidates, people like Jim Harbaugh, they're going to want to put their own staff in place. So when you're forcing conditions on them, you've got to work with Chris Grier for Chris Grier. You've got to work with Tua, and you've got to work with our entire defensive staff. What kind of a coach do you think you're going to hire? You're probably going to hire a yes man. You're probably going to hire a first-year coach who's a coordinator who doesn't want to rattle the cage. And ask yourself as a Miami Dolphin fan, is that the priority you want this franchise to take? Right? Would you rather have someone who's willing to work with Chris Grier and work with Tua, or would you rather have the best possible candidate? I hope whoever they hire checks off both of those boxes, right? Maybe Mike McDaniel ends up being so dynamic and so great and such an amazing human being. He can work flawlessly with Grier and he can take Tua to the next level. And I like McDaniel. I do. Kellen Moore, shoot him to the other side of the galaxy. I'm not interested. But McDaniel, I would like, but I prefer Harbaugh. I don't know what the hell happened to the Miami Heat last night, but I'm hoping this man can tell me. First of all, Brady, this is a really, really rough patch in the schedule here. So they were a couple nights removed from triple overtime. I was tired just watching that. Then they get smoked by the Celtics. No Jimmy, no PJ last night. And let me ask you this, because there are so many places to go. I wasn't sure where to start. Should Tyler Hero have started in that game last night, Brady?
I don't think it made a difference. I probably would have started him because, as I've said in that starting lineup, I didn't think there was enough creation when I was kind of predicting what the starting lineup would be. Max Strus kind of plugging in there. It didn't seem like there was enough shot creation, but it kind of told you the theme of what they were heading into that game offensively with. They were going to bomb away from three. I forgot who said it after game. It was either Caleb or Max said they were aiming for like 40 to 45 threes. That was their plan heading in. That's the only way you can win a game like that. If you're without three starters essentially, and you're just kind of relying on a bunch of role players, you don't have most of your offensive base. That's kind of the way to go. So I don't think it made a difference in that game. And obviously we know what ended up happening at either way.
What about, Duncan Robinson? I mean, Brady, I feel like Duncan's fanboys just sit a few plays out, right? Because they start putting out that, what was that, an apology petition? I had a couple personal friends who were like begging me, like, hey, you need to sign this digitally. Like, I didn't sign it. And then, he went back to being the $90 million bricklayer last night. So maybe they should wait for him to have like a good 15-game stretch before we're signing apologies.
Yeah, he had a couple good games in there. These last two have been rough. I think one of the reasons was Toronto. Another one they're playing tonight. I don't think it's a good matchup for Duncan whatsoever. As I've talked about, I like him against drop coverage. He faced drop coverage against Boston, but it was just essentially him missing shots. Like there's nothing overlooked there matchup wise or them taking him out or anything like that. He was just missing shots. Toronto, though, if we're looking at tonight in that Toronto game, it's just essentially when you have that amount of length and you have that amount of switching, you're just basically forcing Duncan Robinson to give that ball up, hit the pocket pass, play this other role. It's why I thought Max, coming off, by the way, last night, a big performance, 27 points. Toronto's a matchup that he can benefit in because one of his base things that he does is he's a really guy who slips screens, gets to the opposite wing, and that's kind of the way to beat switching like Toronto does is you constantly slip screening. It's just harder to run handoffs and different things with Duncan against that time of team. I think he can bounce back these next 5 games, some away games, and as we've known, we've talked about all season, he's kind of played better on the road. So maybe this next 5 he can kind of get going again.
So what is the injury situation for tonight, Brady? I understand Jimmy Butler will be available, correct?
Yeah, it felt like even though they lost, and it may sound crazy, I think you'd take an L over playing Jimmy and PJ in that game. It just didn't seem like a realistic thing. 4 games in 5 nights is just wild, by the way. Like that is just an incredible ride to go through as a basketball player in the NBA to have to go through that, especially for one, PJ Tucker. He deserves a week off. Like he deserves a lengthy period. I know nobody wants to say it because PJ is just so important to this team night in, night out. That's a guy that's been here every night, playing long minutes, big shots down the stretch, guarding team's best players. That it definitely wasn't the worst thing to leave him out in that one. Jimmy is available. It just felt like, for one, he had to go 3 extra overtimes after basically twisting his ankle, and it did not look good. He ended up going right back on the court, ended up playing, close to 50 minutes. So last night, I think it was essential that he kind of took that one off. He is available tonight. I think this is kind of a perfect scenario to kind of get back on track. You took that one off. There was a lot of things that you noticed in that game. People were kind of talking about Jimmy after that loss to Toronto. Then last night, you see the issues when a guy like Jimmy goes out and when you don't have that rim pressure and you don't have that type of driving kicks and all those things. That it's just hard to win basketball games without Jimmy Butler, PJ Tucker, and Kyle Lowry.
By the way, this is a star-studded cast we have in the live chat. I'm telling Brady Hawk, he brings the celebrities with him. We got Baker Mayfield in the chat, and we have Mac Jones in the chat. And Mac Jones wants to know, do the Dolphins have a new head coach? Mac, you're in good hands there with Belichick. The Dolphins will be in chaos probably forever. Worry about the Bills. Don't worry about the Dolphins, bro. But, oh, man. And by the way, Brady, we really needed you at the watch party last night because usually, like, when the Heat do well, it's either because you're in the arena for home games or you're at a 5 Reasons Sports watch party for road games. You left Ethan and myself out there. We're both tremendous mushes. We needed you there to balance it. I hope you had a good night doing whatever you were doing last night, Brady.
I don't think I could have helped that game against Boston. It doesn't matter if I was in that Boston arena or at that quarter deck. I don't think I could help with what I saw from that offense.
Oh, man. So what do you think happens tonight? Very quick turnaround, obviously. You had a triple overtime loss a couple of nights ago. They get smoked last night. The Heat are in Toronto tonight. No Kyle Lowry again for personal reasons. It'd be nice to see him face his former team, but I guess it's not meant to be. What do the Heat have to do to get the dub tonight?
I think one of the big things that we haven't really mentioned yet, and I think it's something to keep an eye on, is you want to see Tyler Hero kind of pop off here. He's struggled over these last 2 games. We're talking about so many different guys that have struggled, like Duncan. Bam's taking a lot of heat, but Tyler's been struggling. And it's not the perfect matchup to kind of bounce back in. I think Boston is a perfect matchup to kind of bounce back in. He struggled a little bit being that, I think it had a lot to do with being that primary attacker. Toronto, much like I said about Duncan, they're going to put length on him. There was times in that game where they basically said, we're going to put Scotty Barnes on you. We're not going to overhelp with Scotty Barnes. We're going to make the rest of the team beat you. And we're going to take Tyler out of the equation, especially Miami's been doing this thing where they go to these all bench lineups where Tyler's basically the only guy. And it's obviously Gabe, Caleb, Strus, and Dedmon. If you take Tyler out of the equation there with a Scotty Barnes, there's not much else you can do offensively in those times. Actually, in that Toronto game, one of those streaks they went on was they were overhelping on Tyler to start the fourth. And Max Strus got going to start the fourth and hit like 2 threes. They went on an 8-0 run in that game. You have to take advantage in that way, or you have to have Tyler be able to beat the length of this Raptors team. He did it in the first time they played them. I thought it was one of his better games against the Raptors because when they were putting length on him and switching onto him, he was finding some creases, finding beaters. I think that'll be a big thing because we've seen against the Clevelands, against the Torontos, these lengthy teams, he's struggled. If he can find that and get back on track with that matchup, I think he's good to go.
I think my guy Marcus Robinson is psychic because he's reading my mind here. He asked Brady, any shot we get the Dragon back if he gets bought out by Toronto? Do you think that could be in the cards, Brady?
I don't know if that's possible. I think he would have to go to another team to get bought out, but that would
Ooh.
it's still possible because if he gets traded away from Toronto, I highly doubt. I see a lot of 7 Toronto jerseys in the crown, and that was not Goran Dragic on the back of that jersey. I don't think he's playing for Toronto again. So if he does get traded and he gets bought out, I think he'll probably be back on this team in the future. I just don't think it's this year or at this time. They don't need him essentially. Like he can actually be useful for some of these other teams, a veteran point guard. I think he can still play in that way and be a contributor. But when I'm looking at this Heat team right now, and I'm looking at the way they've kind of, for one, transformed into this defensive team, and they've gotten away from those type of players, and they even have a backup point guard now. We were talking about potential backup point guards. Gabe Vincent is a legitimate backup point guard in this league, and especially on a contender. We're seeing the way he's stepped up into the starting lineup. And can even produce off the bench. I think he's a legitimate player to be putting in that rotation come playoff time. That I just don't think at this time that he's Goran Dragic is the type of player they're going after. But I wouldn't be surprised if we ever see Goran and Jimmy on the floor together.
Brady Hawk, are you a Tom Brady fan? Your namesake just officially retired today.
No, I'm not.
What?
No Tom Brady fan here. I'm a Dolphins fan as well. So no.
So you don't respect greatness, is what you're telling me.
Oh, I respect Graves. Like he's definitely the greatest football player ever. Like there's no doubt about that. But that is not the reason my name is Brady. But I do definitely respect it. I respect that he's beat up on the Dolphins for so many years that I had to watch that. That I'm 18 years old and never get to see the Dolphins be successful. So that's kind of where I stand.
See, since you're 18 years old and your name is Brady, I just assumed your parents probably named you after because he had already won like 2 Super Bowls by the time you were born. I thought you were named after him.
Yeah, definitely not. Kind of, if anything, it was the opposite direction.
Well, I always say this: Brady Hawk is the hardest working man at the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and he makes people smarter. Like if you read his NBA content and you watch his breakdown videos and you hear him on 5 on the Floor, this guy makes you a smarter basketball fan. Let us know what's in the works this week, Brady. They can always get the 5 takeaways tonight, of course. Anything else you're working on for the site?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Brady's breakdown on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel here, Brady Hawk 305 on Twitter. Post those film breakdowns as well. I have a new piece on 5reasonsports.com on what Victor Oladipo will bring when he returns, because I feel like that was something we take away from that Boston game is when you have Kyle go out and you have Jimmy go out. Victor Oladipo is going to be useful going forward. So 5reasonsports.com.
I love it. Brady Hawk, thank you so much, man. Enjoy the game tonight. the chiseled jaw. Enjoy that chiseled jaw, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
He's got a fan club in the chat. He does. Okay, so this is really exciting. I think we may have joining us now the next head coach of the Miami Dolphins. I mean, look at this. He's got the gear. He's got the whistle. He's got the whistle. He's got the headset. Harbaugh. Harbaugh is the khakis. He's got the khakis. How much did you pay for those khakis?
I had them. That was like the one thing I had.
No, I was asking you because Harbaugh, people used to say this. I think this was back when he was at San Francisco. He always used to buy, and I think he even got a marketing deal with them. He would buy the $15 Target khaki pants. So if you paid more than there's been some inflation since then. So if you paid more than $17.99 for those, I will know you're a fraud. But I think this is the real deal with us.
They might actually be legit Dockers, so I don't want to. Just leave it alone there.
Those are like $40 pants.
I had to bring it today, you know?
I love it.
I didn't want to talk about it. I wanted to be about it.
Talk about it. Be about it. The last 2 or 3 times you've been on, he joins us every Tuesday for Taco Tuesday. At least the last 2 or 3 times you've been on, you've been very much, you've been pro Harbaugh. I am pro Harbaugh. I've all but given up the dream, Dave. I've pretty much given up the idea that there's anything substantive happening with Harbaugh. I think probably the most likely scenario is he ends up in Minnesota. The second most likely scenario, he stays at Michigan and gets a raise. And then the Dolphins are probably a distant third. Can you give me a little hope? Do you think that there actually could be something to the rumors we've heard the last few days about Harbaugh to Miami?
I've been thinking about it a lot, right? And I have this conspiracy theory in my head because that's the only way I can look at the Stephen Ross stuff, right? So
Yeah.
I said a couple weeks ago, like, if he's going to leave for the NFL, why not keep him in the family? But I also said at some point, like, maybe we're looking at this the wrong way, that that Jim Harbaugh isn't necessarily trying to come work for Stephen Ross. But at the same time, like, if he's friends with Stephen Ross and doesn't want him to look bad, these rumors, oh my God. So it can go on and on, right? But I do think he'll leave for the NFL. I've been saying that for a couple weeks, and we talked and we thought it was dead, but I kept saying, like, Harbaugh, right?
Yeah.
So I think he'll come back. I think at this point it looks like McDaniel, right? And I'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
It's
Bong
almost like the
Shula.
Tua thing, right? Like, I'll be happy with Tua. I'll be happier with Jim Harbaugh. I mean, McDaniel. I'll be happier with Jim Harbaugh, right? So that is what it is. But right now, Twitter's going crazy, and we can all play that guessing game and have some fun with it, right?
Now, I said this yesterday. I know not everybody who watched yesterday is watching today. There may be some new folks on here, so I want to double down on this, that if Harbaugh ends up staying at Michigan, it is what it is. But if he comes to the NFL and goes to Minnesota and not Miami, I'm going to be pissed at Stephen Ross. Like, I'm really going to be pissed at Stephen Ross, and it's going to make me wonder, did Ross just decide he doesn't want to ruffle any Michigan feathers, which would tell me you should probably sell the Miami Dolphins? That if you're going to prioritize your alma mater, and I know he donates money there, but he owns the fucking team for the Dolphins. So, like, a place where he donates money, that should not take priority over a business he literally owns. So if he prioritizes Michigan over the Dolphins, you should sell the team. Or if they're not going after Harbaugh, because Ross, he does this thing that he sometimes does where he'll trust his football people, even though his football people are not trustworthy.
Yeah.
So if he's trusting Chris Grier to do this search, Chris Grier is a doormat. Okay. And if Chris Grier has decided, I had some personal issues with the last guy who was here. He was very mean to me, so I wanted to get rid of him because he was rattling the cage too much. He was trying to take power away from me. It doesn't sound to me like the type of person Chris Grier would want to hire is Jim Harbaugh, who's an alpha. Jim Harbaugh, who's got an ego, he's got a resume, he's going to want to put his own fingerprints on the organization. That might even cost Chris Grier his job if Harbaugh came here. So if Stephen Ross is letting Chris Grier run this search, no chance in hell Jim Harbaugh comes here.
And this is just South Beach Harbaugh, by the way. That was the point of that.
I love it. Well, people
if
are
he comes here,
out,
you mentioned the weather, right? So that was kind of where I was going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some people have pointed out that you look more, and I think it's the beard and the glasses. You look a lot more like Mike McDaniel than you look like
I know.
Jim
So
Harbaugh.
That's the thing, is, like, either way, I get a coach with glasses, so I'm happy about that. But yeah, the thing for me is I wasn't going to shave. I wasn't going to go that far, so I'm sorry.
Oh man!
Yeah.
And by the way,
look, the whole situation, right? You're talking about being mad at Stephen Ross and all that. Like I said, that kind of goes back to my idea of this conspiracy theory of there's all these different moving parts on who doesn't want to make who look bad, and that's just sort of what it is with the Dolphins. Like you said, like, he should sell the team, but, like, he basically owns Michigan to some degree, right? So on that end of it, like, he's been doing this. He could have had Harbaugh before, probably.
Yeah, but Harbaugh wasn't at Michigan before. Like, he tried to get him when he was at Stanford. So you didn't have, like, he just struck out. Like, it had nothing to do with Michigan. He just
saying,
he
like,
swung and he missed.
Right, even when they hired Flores, I'm sure at some point that would have been an option, but he's a Michigan guy, right? So who knows what else, like politics, it all gets involved with Stephen Ross at some point, and becomes less about football and more about, like, you're talking about the Chris Grier stuff. And we saw that story yesterday come out about Mike McDaniel's interview and the fact that he said something about a quicker passing game.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, that's, to Chris Grier, that's like, ooh, quicker passing game, Tua, right? So, like, that's kind of what you're saying is Ross is trusting these guys. And I like Mike McDaniel, but, it's just a matter of why they're getting to these answers.
We're joined here by Taco About Sports, and man, the live chat is it's off the hook today. Is Zach Wilson going to show up? We've got Baker Mayfield watching the show. We've got Mac Jones watching the show. Like, we need Zach Wilson in here. And his crazy mom, if she wants to come and chat with us, that'd probably be a good laugh for us as well. Tom Brady's got nothing better to do. He retired, so get him in here.
We get
How do you?
Mahomes' wife and his brother. We can do some TikToks.
We can. We absolutely can. By the way, how do you feel about Brady? I am the rare Dolphin fan who I admit he's the greatest of all time. I love Tom Brady. I think this is a sad day. I think Tom Brady retiring, this is a sad day, especially the fact that he's not been a Patriot for the last couple of years. It's been an honor and a pleasure every Sunday during football season for the last 22 years watching this guy do his thing. This to me is a sad day. And whenever I say that publicly, I get some backlash because a lot of these petty Dolphin fans, they can't let go of a rivalry.
Yeah, look, first of all, it's a sad day, but which day? Because he retired twice this week, basically, right?
Right.
So,
Well, Schefter scooped him the first time. He hadn't even decided he was retiring. Then he saw Schefter's report. He's like, if Schefter says it, I guess I got to go now.
well, that's the thing. The other day when the story came out, I felt kind of what you were saying. I can look at it from an outside, an objective opinion, basically, and say, look, he's the greatest. We've seen him play a lot because of our division and all that. So, yeah, I appreciate it. But then, that disappeared, and when it popped up again today, it's okay, moving on. ESPN today is all Tom Brady for the second day this week.
By the way, look who just popped in.
Zachy.
This is amazing. You know who's never going to show up into our chat is Tua Tagovailoa himself.
I wasn't going to say that.
He doesn't like to hear truth bombs, right? I found this.
He's
YouTube
golfing.
channel. We'll leave it at that. I know he's never gonna show up. So, let me ask two predictions from you, sir. Do we have a head coach by the end of this week? That's number one. And number two, who is it going to be?
It has to be done this week, just because I think with the whole, Harbaugh and Minnesota thing, and they've already done the interview with McDaniel. So, it's just going to look worse if they don't have a decision after this week, right? But gun to my head, I'll say McDaniel. My heart goes to Harbaugh. I don't know if you noticed that. I'm a Harbaugh guy right now. But
I mean, you even brought a whistle, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And he wore khakis, pleated khakis.
Do I need that?
Oh, man. Oh, and by the way, while you're here, before we wrap it up, I want to tell the folks about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the official fantasy sports sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Prize Picks is making people money. It's just you versus the numbers. You select 2, 3, or 4 players and predict whether they go over or under their fantasy projections. You can win 10 times your money for getting 4 predictions correct. And Dave, as Mr. Taco will tell you, very easy to sign up. You can sign up on the website or the mobile app. I use the mobile app. It's incredibly easy. It takes under 60 seconds to make your predictions. And Dave Friedman here, he hosts our Prize Picks coverage on 5 Reasons Sports, Prize Picks on 5. Let people know, man, when you're broadcasting again and anything else you want to add about the great service and how they can sign up. Look at that.
Yeah, well, look, where football's back, obviously, we try to go on heat day games. So, we'll jump into that. Ethan, myself, Dave Eversole, Prize Picks on 5. Go sign up on Prize Picks. Use code 5, FIVE. Give us all that money. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, enjoy the rest of your week, man. We'll talk to you again next Tuesday. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it. Not going to talk about it. We'll be about it.
I love it. Dave Friedman, who's he was trying to dress like Harbaugh, looked more like Mike McDaniel. And wow, yeah, we've had Baker Mayfield, Mac Jones, and primetime Zach Wilson all in the chat today. And yeah, they should sign up at betus.com. Before we bring in our guy Lewis Sung, who's going to join us in a few minutes, I want to tell you guys about the official sports book of Donno Daily and the 5. Well, yeah, we'll get to them as well. I threw off that. I usually do Quarterdeck first and then BetUS second, but I want to talk about betus.com because Manny Chang, he was reminding the stud quarterbacks that we have watching the show today. You guys aren't playing next Sunday. Neither of you guys are in the Super Bowl. I haven't seen Matt Stafford or Joe Burrow check in yet. So you guys can bet on the game, man. And this is the time to get signed up. It's our official sports book. They are available in Florida, by the way. BetUS.com. We have a code for you. When you sign up with our code at America's favorite sports book, you get the best bonus in the industry. You will not find another spot in the gambling space that's going to give you a 125% signing bonus. That's at betus.com. Sign up with our code 5RSN125. That's 5RSN125, and they're going to give you a 125% sign up bonus. So if you deposit $100, they're going to give you $125 in free play money on top of your deposit. Oh, Tua is here. Well, Tua, listen, man, when you're not playing golf, you can sign up at betus.com and place a few wagers on the Heat game tonight. You know, that big game I don't know if I'm allowed to actually say the trademarked term for the game. There's a big game in the NFL happening in about a week and a half, and you could bet on it at betus.com. Guys, they have live betting on everything. So you can't, you not only can you bet the spread, the money line, player props, over-unders before the game starts, you can also bet live in-game. It's an amazing service. It is a full sports book. They also have a full casino right there on the website. You can play blackjack for real money. You can play slot games, table games. It's like having Las Vegas in your pocket because the site works great on your smartphone as well. So sign up at betus.com with our code 5RSN125. You bet, you win, you get paid. betus.com. You want to know where I was last night? Oh, I was at the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar in Neighborhood. I'm mushed that they're going to tie. Hey, if you were to bet on it, the Super Bowl can't end in a tie, can it? Would they would probably just keep playing until somebody wins, right? Like they wouldn't end it in a tie. But if it did happen, my luck, I mushed them both. Yeah, I mushed the Bengals. Or sorry, I mushed the Chiefs, not the Bengals. I helped them. But guys, last night I was out at the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. We were watching the Miami Heat unfortunately get smashed, but we did watch the Florida Panthers beat up. Yeah, it was a Panthers exclusive last night. The Florida Panthers punished the Columbus Blue Jackets last night. So we were there watching both games on the big screens. It was delightful. Make the Quarterdeck your spot to watch every big game, including the big game in a couple of weeks, and every big fight, because they have every UFC pay-per-view fight for zero cover charge at the Quarterdeck. Eat inside, eat on the patio, enjoy the 2-for-1 happy hour. They got 2-for-1 drinks. That never ends. As long as they're open, they got 2-for-1 happy hour. It's a great place to wet your whistle. The beer is always ice cold. The seafood is so delicious. The chicken wings are awesome. I'm on this savage diet, so I had the Asian chicken salad last night. It was really tasty, and I've been able to keep my figure. Like I've been dropping weight, even eating at a great place like the Quarterdeck. There is something for everybody. If you want to find the location nearest to you or peep their menu before you go, check them out on the web at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. And you know who I saw out there last night? It was actually the first time that I met this dude in person. And just so you know, you're still on mute. I want to make sure you unmute. Yeah, he knows. See, he's a pro. He knows. So I say it, Lewis, because sometimes I mute myself and I forget to unmute myself. Lewis Sung from the 5 Reasons Sports Network is with us. Lewis, it was great finally seeing you in person, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm just watching what's going on in the chat here. Apparently, we have Tua and Mac Jones going at it in the chat room. So Bush League, though, don't you think?
A little bit, man. I mean, yeah. I mean, Tua's taking personal shots at Mac. I mean, come on. Both of you are done this season. We're about to put you both in the rear view. Zach Wilson. I'm just hoping Zach Wilson's crazy mom gets into the chat too. Then
let's get all of them in here. Where's Tua and on? Let's get them all in here. Right. Let's get all the folks in here.
Yeah, you know, people sometimes accuse me very wrongfully and very maliciously. I think I could probably sue some of these people, but I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm ready to pursue legal action. I've been accused of being a Tua hater, even though I've actually had Tua on the show multiple times. So if anything, I actually present both sides of the story. What up, Savage? Alex M is in the chat as well. No, but something, Lewis, you and I were talking about this in person last night. I've been talking about this on the show the last couple of days. For about the past 72 hours, people have been trying to put Jim Harbaugh into the Miami Dolphins conversation. I have not been buying it because I have not seen a credible person actually report on it. It's been a lot of conspiracy theories. Do you think that they may actually be negotiating behind the scenes, or are you like me and you think Harbaugh to Miami? It's not happening.
this is something that I talked about with Ethan this morning, is basically that I don't see the Dolphins like doing anything behind the scenes trying to convince Harbaugh. Like, I feel like they would go through proper channels. This doesn't sound like something that Ross would do. And again, the whole idea is that Ross still wants to cater to his alma mater. He still wants Michigan to have his guy, his coach. And quite frankly, at this point, like, I'm on the record, you know that I am, that I think the better fit for the Miami Dolphins specifically is Mike McDaniel, simply because what he has to offer is exactly what Tua needs to be successful. I understand what Jim Harbaugh does. I actually challenged some people yesterday on Twitter, basically saying, like, what can you tell me about Jim Harbaugh beyond his record that makes him special? Finally, some people gave me a legitimate answer, which is that,
including me.
Yes, including you. It's like somebody from some folks finally gave me an answer. And it's not that I didn't know. It's just that I want people to understand what it is that you are looking at in Jim Harbaugh when you say he's so special. So He's a good leader. Okay. He can build a great staff. Okay. That works for me. But most of the people yelling Jim Harbaugh are just like, he won in San Francisco. He just wins. That's not something you can measure. Just winning doesn't do anything for you. Like, how did you do it? How can you replicate it after you leave? What can you do that makes it so that when you get to this new place, we're going to know for sure that you're going to be able to replicate the same stuff? That's the stuff that I look for when it comes to head coaching.
Yeah, I mean, and I understand what you're saying about McDaniel, who I like. I mean, the reasons why I prefer Harbaugh, a big part of it is his experience and the fact that I can know he can still build a staff. I do look at McDaniel as somewhat of a gamble just because he's never been a head coach before. But I want to build on part of your line of thinking there, because I do think Mike McDaniel could be very good with Tua. Now, I'm a Dolphin fan before I'm a Tua fan, so maybe what's best for the Dolphins may not necessarily be what's best for Tua, but if he's your starting quarterback, you do need him to succeed. So elaborate a little bit on how you think Tua Tagovailoa would fit in a Mike McDaniel offense.
All right. So just to clarify real quick, you had Taco on earlier, right?
I did.
Okay, so I was actually looking back at the discussion that we had back in 2019, back when we were still doing 305 Live at 5 Reasons Sports. And like some of the things that I had said back then are still sticking now, because even then when I was anti-tank for Tua, it wasn't that I didn't like Tua. It was that I just feel like, again, one quarterback does not become a savior, no matter who it is. You have to have all the pieces around him. Now, Mike McDaniel, he shows up in Miami. His thing is being the run game coordinator. He's the guy who makes sure the offensive line schemes allow for the running backs to maximize their potential. I love that, because something that Tua does not have, that, again, I pointed his constituents, Joe Burrow, I pointed Justin Herbert, and we discussed this last night at the quarter deck, which, by the way, that burger that I had was awesome. But again, Justin Herbert has a running game, and his running back, by the way, can catch for about as many yards as he runs for. Joe Mixon for the Bengals ran for 1,200 yards in the regular season. What did Tua have? For the first 10 weeks of the season, Myles Gaskin, Savon Ahmed, Malcolm Brown for like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And then Duke came out of nowhere and was like, I'm getting tired of this. I'm going to come and run my ass off, and I'm going to kind of give some semblance of a running game. And suddenly things like, it looked like we had more of a balanced offense going, because suddenly you could run the football. But that's what I think Mike McDaniel can offer Tua more than anything. I don't think Mike McDaniel can fix Tua. Mike McDaniel cannot fix Tua, okay? His job is not to fix Tua. He's not a QB guru like an Adam Gase. His job is not to fix the quarterback. His job is to fix the offensive scheme so that the quarterback is not going to be counted on as the end-all be-all of the offense. Patrick Mahomes, even he, for as great as he is, has solid running backs, weapons that can bail him out of a jam if necessary. I don't see the issue here. And by the way, I don't think it's a faster offense, unless what you were talking about with faster is kind of like a Chip Kelly type of thing, where you do like a hurry up 2-minute offense type thing and you just run down the field and score. I'm good with that, man. I would love that. I think that would actually be perfect, because Tua is a rhythm quarterback. You get him into a rhythm, you get him going, you get the defense worn out, then you're going to see some awesome results, I think. But even back then in 2019, I had said back then, and it's still holding true today, I don't expect Tua to come into Miami and go from top of the line college quarterback with top of the line talent in Alabama.
Right.
And he comes down to Miami where it's the bottom of the barrel. Your best running backs are a 7th round draft pick and an undrafted free agent. And that's by design because Brian Flores and Chris Greer said, we're good. We're fine. Their offensive line was what? We're good. Oh, by the way, these other guys that are starting for the teams now, they're nothing special. We don't need them. So you tell me what people expected when they drafted Tua. What did you expect? Did you expect him to walk on water? It's not happening.
I think they did. I think they expected Tua to be putting up Justin Herbert type stats and getting Joe Burrow like results. And unfortunately, and it's not all his fault, unfortunately, neither of those things have happened.
No, it's not all his fault. Some of it is. Again, I will definitely criticize him. He lost his mechanics at the end of the season. Alfredo Arteaga went into that in detail. Yep. And he
got
needs
exposed,
to get that.
Is what I say.
He needs to get that fixed. He does. But no team, no quarterback is going to be able to succeed the way that the Dolphins want him to, the way the Dolphins fans want them to, until all of these things are addressed, at least in some fashion. You look at the weapons that the Cincinnati Bengals have at their disposal. And this is part of the article that I wrote not too long ago. You have Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and of course, Jamar Chase. You have Joe Mixon. Right. Their offensive line is crap. Yeah. But with those kind of weapons, who they can get that kind of yards after the catch, and any one of them at any moment could break free for a big play. I mean, hello. And by the way, it's not even counting CJ Uzuma, who's actually a pretty solid tight end. Mm-hmm. And then you go to Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Would you take Keenan Allen over Devontae Parker?
Yes.
Would you take Mike Williams over Devontae Parker?
Yes.
So just right there, right off the bat, he has 2 wide receivers that he can count on that you would immediately think, oh, this is way better than our number 2 guy. Yeah. Way better, easily. The only one that you can maybe look at and say this guy might be better than one of those guys is Waddle.
Yeah, Jalen
That's
Waddle.
it. Yeah. That's all you got. So, again, you want any quarterback. Forget Tua. Let's take Tua out of the equations. What quarterback do you think can take so much of this team? If the defense had not carried the Dolphins the way that they did this season, I'm sorry, they wouldn't have gotten anywhere close to the playoffs. So now if you want to tell me that a better quarterback would have gotten to the playoffs, okay, sure. Would they have gotten to the big dance? No, not even close. Not even close. Because once again, you don't have everything you need. The best teams, the ones that get to the Super Bowl, are the ones that are the best all around, have great coaching, have great teamwork, have great, I don't think Joe Burrow is the number 1 quarterback in the NFL. All of the top quarterbacks in the league are gone. All of them. Yep. Rodgers, gone. Brady, gone. And by the way, those teams were stacked, and they still couldn't get the job done. So that's why I give Tua a break. I'm not saying that Tua is the answer. If the Dolphins don't think that he's the answer, they have 2 first-round draft picks that they can look next season. And that, by the way, that new coach who everybody's like, nobody wants to come to Miami to coach Tua. So don't coach Tua. Try it out 1 year. If it doesn't.
Well, and I think that's only part of the issue, because there are a lot of conditions on this job. Maybe Tua is a part of it, but also maybe working with Chris Greer is not attractive to some people. And
you
also, and being
Donno,
forced.
I don't buy that.
Okay,
why? I don't buy that, Donno.
Why?
Because Chris Greer is a yes man. For the last 2 coaching regimes,
he's also a backstabber.
I mean, a backstabber in what way, though? Like, he basically saying that I don't like how Brian Flores talked to me, wah, wah, wah. But, I mean, if you're being a jerk to people, you're being a jerk to people, okay? It's not one guy. It's like, oh, he ran to Daddy Ross and like, please get rid of him. He hurt me. It's not the playground, okay?
But hold on. But personality aside, though, what about the idea that every time you do holdovers, and I'm putting this on Stephen Ross, not on Chris Greer, by the way, because every time Stephen Ross makes a change, he's either changing GMs and keeping a coach or changing coaches and keeping a GM. And so, okay, a new coach comes in here, Lewis. So obviously the new coach who comes in here, their seat would not be as warm as Chris Greer's. What if Greer gets fired in a year and then they bring in another GM who may want to bring in his new coach, and that makes your job security as the head coach a little bit less? I think that's part of the concern in coming in here and being forced to work with Chris Greer. I think they should have cleaned house. I think if you wanted to make this change, you like the Giants did, you get a new GM and then let that GM get you your new coach.
All right. So here's the problem, though. And this is something that we have to discuss because it feels like we're being disingenuous about it.
Okay.
you want Ross to clean house. You want him to be like that gif of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air where the house is just empty and there's nobody around. So that means that with all the crap that we talk about Stephen Ross, all the garbage that is spewed about how he's awful, he's the worst owner in football, and blah, 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 blah. So you want him to clean house, and you want him to go ahead and start from scratch.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Stephen Ross is going
point.
to pick the GM, who will then pick the head coach. So you're trusting Stephen Ross to completely rebuild the Dolphins from the ground up? With all due respect, I would trust Greer more than I would trust Ross to make that decision.
I like this much, I would. But yeah.
Even that little much, at least Greer understands the basics of football. Ross does not. So who would Ross pick? Who would Ross pick in his little buddy buddy? The only thing that I could think of is that if Ross had fired Greer, then I would think he would have put a full court press for Harbaugh, because that's the only thing. But that's the only thing. But you know what? You know why he doesn't do that? And this is just me with a tinfoil cap instead of my snazzy 5 Reasons hat that I got last night. The only reason you don't do that is because you are not convinced that Harbaugh will say yes, because you've already been burned once. 11 years ago, you begged him, pleaded with him, please come and coach my football team instead of this guy Sperano. And Harbaugh said, screw off. What changes now?
Yeah. You're spitting facts. And I want to go back to something you said that I wholeheartedly agree with. Going back to Mike McDaniel. And again, I want to make sure everybody in here knows I like Mike McDaniel. Just because I prefer Harbaugh doesn't mean I don't like McDaniel. I think that could be a very good hire. And I thought you made a good point about what he does for the overall offense, right? A week ago when it looked like Brian Daboll was the favorite, a lot of the Tua-neers were really standing for Daboll because, hey, this guy, he's a quarterback-minded guy who has actually worked with Tua at Alabama, helped recruit Tua, and likes Tua. So we've got to get this guy to maximize Tua. But I think they were thinking about it 2-dimensionally. I think about it, and I think you do as well. You think about it 3-dimensionally, that instead of just finding a quarterbacks guy who's been riding Josh Allen's coattails the last couple of years and who likes Tua, maybe actually the best guy for Tua would be the guy who can revolutionize your offense and fix your running game. And Mike McDaniel is that guy. The reason why, for the most part, Lewis, and I still think the Dolphins should have interviewed more experienced people and not so many coordinators, but out of the coordinators, Mike McDaniel has virtually from day one, I say virtually because I had to do a little research on him early in the process before I formulated a full opinion on him, but virtually since day one, Mike McDaniel has been my favorite out of the coordinators because this guy, he is an actual genius. That's a fact. He's in Mensa, and he's actually revolutionizing and innovating the game in a way none of these other coordinators are. So, I like Mike McDaniel, he's changing the complexion of football as we know it. I can't say that for any of the other coordinators. So I think going back to your point, it was an astute one that Mike McDaniel, if you're talking about a guy who can actually, maybe fix is not the right word, but maximize Tua, his offense, look what that offense has done with Jimmy Garoppolo, how far that they've gotten. I know that they ultimately fell short, and I think Tua can be better than Jimmy Garoppolo, okay? So Mike McDaniel may be the guy for that reason.
That's the thing, and that's the difference maker right there. It's not a question of can he maximize Tua. I'm tired of this concept, and this is something that I went back to 2019 with Taco, and we had this whole debate. Mm-hmm. It's not all about the quarterback. If you go in there and your entire motivation is I'm going to fix this quarterback, then you're already looking in the wrong direction.
Right.
Because there are several other positions on this team that desperately need your attention. Fix the offense, fix the scheme, fix the players around your quarterback. And then, only then, when you've maximized everything else, can you finally look at it and say, I could use a different guy. And quite frankly, there are so many QBs in this league who have been tossed aside, have been looked down on. And why? Because the pieces around them are never enough. Let's look at Matthew Stafford in Los Angeles, who's going to the Super Bowl 1 year removed from Detroit. 1 year removed from Detroit. Detroit absolutely ruined Matt Stafford's career. So many people thought Stafford was He's not good enough. He wasn't the answer. He was never going to elevate the Lions. How about the Lions elevating him, man? That's the problem that I have with this QB worship stuff. Who is elevating Stafford? Not the other way around. If you want your quarterback to be the answer to all your problems, your focus is in the wrong place, because that is not a team that's going to win the Super Bowl. If your focus is like, oh, don't worry, Aaron Rodgers will get us there. In Aaron, we trust. In Marino, we trust. You're going about it the wrong way.
I hear you. I just think when you draft a guy 5th overall who had been labeled, not his fault, but had been labeled as a savior, for a full year before you drafted him, I would expect to be getting a guy who's not just Davis Mills with a better haircut. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, well, yeah, I know. I knew you were going to come with that eventually, but it's just, again, where did he come from? Where did he go to? If Justin Herbert were in Miami, he probably put together better performances than Tua, but we'd still be sitting right here.
Yeah.
If Joe Burrow showed up in Miami, we might have made it to the playoffs, but we'd probably be first-round exits, because there is no Joe Mixon. There is no T. Higgins. There is no Tyler Boyd. There is no C.J. Uzoma. So I can't look at it, because, again, we're looking at things in the what could have been instead of the what if. Tua is not as good as Joe Burrow at this point in time. He's not as good as Justin Herbert at this point in time.
Right.
For all we know, he may never be quite as good as those guys who are more physically gifted than he is. But to pretend that if one of those guys had been in Miami, then Miami would be the ones knocking on the door of the Super Bowl.
And I agree with that. I completely agree with that. And that's well said. Let's bring the conversation full circle, because I know that when people pop in live, you miss some stuff. Our guy Jason Stavros just popped in. He said, will someone let me know if we still have a legit chance to get Harbaugh? I say no. What do you think, Louis?
I mean, I honestly don't think it'll happen. I still think when all is said and done, it's going to be Mike McDaniel, which, again, I'm fine with. But I am sure that if Ross hears that Harbaugh is this close to signing with the Vikings, that he will go ahead and say, what the heck are you doing? Come back. It's like, that GIF is like, what is it, from Austin Powers? It's like, come back here. It's like, come here, come home. That's what he's going to do. He's going to try. And I hope that McDaniel understands, like, listen, we like you and all, but this is Jim Harbaugh, I don't know if he'll think that way. I wouldn't. I would be like, oh, wait a minute. You like me all this time. And then as soon as this guy shows up, you're going to be like, we'll see. Because remember, we keep everybody saying that McDaniel is like Gase 2.0, the offensive genius who's going to fix everything. If McDaniel has the same ego as Adam Gase, chasing Harbaugh might ruin any shot we have at getting him.
I don't think he. I mean, I don't think he does. I mean, at least, like, obviously, I don't know Mike McDaniel that well. Maybe I'm judging him too much based off press clipping. He doesn't seem like he has the Gase type of ego. And also, I'm glad you brought up the Gase comparison. And I know you and I agree on this because we talked about this yesterday. I think it's very unfair the way that some people try to call McDaniel Gase 2.0 or even Philbin 2.0. And it's only because Philbin was a coordinator who didn't call plays.
There is actually...
Oh, go ahead.
There is actually a report that McDaniel actually does call some plays in San Francisco. Not all of them, but he does actually have a little bit of experience doing it. So,
and that's great. That would make some people feel better. Honestly, I don't care if he does or he doesn't, because I look at it this way, Louis. Most Dolphin fans would not want their head coach calling plays. So why do you care if he calls them now? That's the thing. Like, because, and I think this is an excuse people use because they just don't like the idea of a guy who looks like a nerd that they'd never heard of before, 3 weeks ago, and they just don't want him to get the job. So they'll look for confirmation biases. Okay, what ammunition can I use against Mike McDaniel? Oh, no, he doesn't call plays. Oh, how can we have a head coach who didn't call offensive plays? Well, do you want your head coach calling offensive plays? If the answer is no, why do you care?
Yeah, that's the kind of idea. It's like the only thing that you could potentially look at with McDaniel and put against him is, yes, you can call plays. Irrelevant, because we don't want him calling plays in the first place. Yeah, but Gase was a psycho, and that's why he doesn't have a job.
Yeah.
Like Peyton Manning's little endorsement of him has run its warranty. It's not going to do him any good anymore.
That's right.
Like,
he got some good mileage off of that.
I will take Adam Gase as a quarterback coach. That's it. Nothing more. Nothing like nothing more. That's
I'd rather have Peyton Manning as a quarterback coach than Adam Gase.
I don't think Peyton wants to do that.
Fair,
honestly. If I wanted a quarterback coach, I'd see if Fitzpatrick's ready to retire. That's just me.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Well, Lewis, man, it's great. It's been too long, man. We'll have you on as long as you can. I hope I didn't get you in trouble at work because I know
No,
you
it's everything.
work during the
No,
day.
it's all been worked out. If anything, I think my boss might actually be watching this right now. So
Nice. Okay, awesome. Well, shout out to the boss. Well, listen, man, we'll talk again soon. The reason why, folks, why we haven't had Lewis on for a while is when I changed the show time a few months ago from noon to 3 p.m., it just got tougher with Lewis's schedule. So we'll do it again, man. Anytime you can get a few minutes off at work, we'll bring you on, sir.
just
Thank you
reach
so
out
much.
and I'll let you know.
I love it. Awesome job, Lewis. Lewis D. Sung. Very just logical guy. You guys know me. I like people who don't have biases, and Lewis does not have any biases. I mean, he said some things on Tua's behalf, but he was also, very realistic about Tua's limitations and the growth he needs, and that you want to put this guy in the best possible position to succeed. Like so, very very fair, and he made some awesome points about Mike McDaniel. All right, so I want to go, and Chuck. And by the way, I think I think it was the same person in the chat who said that you just subscribed, that you were a new subscriber to the channel. If that was you, thank you so much. Oh, thank you, David. Good stuff, David, for being on the ball. But by the way, for my Canes fam in the chat, I'm assuming there's nothing new substantive today on Shamar Stewart, who's going to announce tomorrow at 1:30. Oh, if Mario can pull this off, if we can get Shamar Stewart to the U, it's going to be it's already a great recruiting class, considering Mario showed up and then a few days later it was early signing day. It's already a good class of 2022, but if you can add Shamar Stewart, who's going to announce tomorrow 1:30 p.m., if you can add him to the class, oh my god, I'm going to want to he's a very big gentleman, so it'd be difficult, but I would want to like hoist Mario onto my shoulders, like me and Manny Chang will hoist him onto our shoulders and like carry him around for a victory lap. So God, I hope Miami is able to land Shamar Stewart tomorrow. He is being now crystal balled to Miami, but he's going to be choosing between Miami, Georgia, who likes just dropping boatloads of cash. And we need Ruiz. We need Ruiz to come with that cash because Georgia loves dropping boatloads of cash. Texas A&M. And people think that Jackson State could be in play as well. That Deion Sanders could swoop in and get another big-time fish. So we'll see how that goes down tomorrow. I'm going to send some shout-outs into the chat in a moment. Man, usually after these shows or at the end of these shows, I shout out literally everybody in the live chat. We've been so loaded the last few days with Dolphins coaching search stuff that it's become impossible. So I try to shout out as many people as I can. But when there's like literally hundreds of messages coming through, it gets hard. So if I miss anybody when I do the shout outs, I'm not skipping over anybody on purpose. I'm trying to shout out everybody, and I'm trying not to shout the same people out twice, which just wastes time. So we'll do that in a moment. But yeah, I want to remind you guys, if you're here watching us live or watching us on tape delay, please support our awesome sponsors because we wouldn't have a show without them. They make this possible. There are expenses that come in with running these platforms, and you got professionals who do this, and so the sponsors make it possible. Make sure you support our official sports bar. We have watch parties frequently at the Quarterdeck. We had one last night to watch the Heat and Panthers. Panthers good, Heat not so good last night. We have one about every month at the Quarterdeck Seafood Bar and Neighborhood Grill. So be following me on Twitter and 5 Reasons Sports on Twitter to find out when the next one is. And don't even wait for the next watch party. Get on out to the Quarterdeck. The food is so good. The burgers are amazing. The seafood is so fresh. The pasta dishes are awesome. The baby back ribs, fresh mahi-mahi is so good. Get on out to the Quarterdeck, guys. They have 2-for-1 happy hour all day, every day. It's an awesome spot to watch the big game. So we had a cool night last night. We were out on the patio, but they even had a heat lamp for us because we're South Florida. It was like 59 degrees. We're soft. We had a heat lamp out there. You can dine inside or outside. It's a great place to watch the games. In about a week and a half, you can watch a certain big game out there. Go out there tonight to watch the Heat game. Heat and Raptors tonight, 7:30. Find the location nearest to you or check out their menu before you go at quarterdeckrestaurants.com. The Quarterdeck, come for the food, stay for the fun. And yeah, our official sports book BetUS.com. BetUS, make it your spot, my friends, to make it your spot to bet on all the live sporting events coming up. NBA, NHL, international soccer, the big game in the NFL coming up in a little bit. They have live betting on everything. They've got odds. This is a full-service sports book. And yes, they are available in Florida. Sign up with our code 5RSN125 for a 125% sign-up bonus. All right, so this is, man, a huge, huge shout-out to this dude. So Louis Sung is back, and he told me in the private chat we have breaking news. What is the breaking news? Because I haven't seen this, Louis. What happened?
So the breaking news, it comes from Alex Wiepren. I'm trying to look at, I don't know if I said it right, but he's a media and business writer for, what is it called? The Hollywood Reporter. Basically, Brian Flores is suing the NFL and the New York Giants, alleging racism in hiring, and includes text from Bill Belichick. In it, he alleges that Stephen Ross pressured him to tank the 2019 season, that he would pay him $100,000 per loss. So that's,
oh my God.
If that is true, that is insane. That is incredible. It's I don't know how much of that is true, but if this is actually has any merit whatsoever, this is a scandal beyond all recognition right now.
Whoa. Okay, so hold on. I have to because I'm catching my breath here, and you're giving me a lot to process. So and there were a couple people, by the way, in the chat who had just right before you popped back in were saying something about Flores suing the NFL. So you're telling me that he is this him directly alleging it, or someone reporting but he is, according to this report, he is alleging that
there is
Stephen
a civil
Ross,
action. There is a civil action, class action complaint. It is right. It's already here. It's listed Brian Flores as the plaintiff.
Oh my God! So this is really going down. So he is alleging part of, because there was also something about racism and hiring. So let's get to that in a second. But as far as the Dolphins side of it, he is alleging that Stephen Ross pressured him to tank, even giving him financial incentive of $100,000 per loss to tank the 2019 season.
Yeah, I just put the document in. I just put the document in the private chat. I don't know if Manny can put it up there so we can take a look at it.
Hold on, I can. Let me do that. Manny had to run to drive to the Panthers game. I'm going to. I can do a screen share. So guys, bear with me. We don't often have breaking news, at least not of this magnitude. I want to pull this up here so everyone can see it. Luckily, I have actually learned how to use StreamYard pretty well, so that it used to be like if I was just like I was like a 2-year-old child in here. I can actually know how to do the screen sharing now. So let me see this. Now I also have old eyes, so I need to enlarge my screen here and take a look at this. Actually, I'm going to read it right off the document page, and it should coincide with what you guys see on screen. Okay, so this is what am I looking at here? These are text messages that are in this document, or no?
Yes.
Okay, so I got you. So this is okay. Quote, sorry, I fucked this up. I double checked and misread the text. I think they are naming Brian Daboll. I'm sorry about that, from Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick informing plaintiff Brian Flores 3 days before his interview with the New York Giants that Brian Daboll had already been selected for the job. And of course, as you guys know,
so it's not just the Dolphins he's after. He's after the Giants too. Like, he's mad about that. The Giants, he's mad at the Dolphins. He's mad at everybody. Basically, he said he's basically suing for defamation. Basically, it's like, you're assaulting my character.
Wow. Okay, so I'm reading through this. I'm going to read through this quickly because I'm not sure what parts are skippable and what aren't. As this class action complaint is filed on the first day of Black History Month, we honor the brave leaders that fought so hard to help break down racial barriers of injustice. Martin Luther King Jr., Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, Frederick Douglass, Jackie Robinson, and Mammy Till, to name only a few. Unfortunately, however, there's so much more to be done. While racial barriers have been eroded in many areas, defendant, the National Football League, lives in a time of the past. So the NFL is the defendant in this lawsuit. As described throughout this class action complaint, the NFL remains rife with racism, particularly when it comes to the hiring and retention of black head coaches, coordinators, and general managers. Over the years, the NFL and its 32-member organizations have been given every chance to do the right thing. Rules have been implemented, promises made, but nothing has changed. In fact, the racial discrimination has only been made worse by the NFL's disingenuous commitment to social equality. As such, the face of the risks associated with the combating racism and injustice, and in particular standing up to organizations as powerful as the NFL and its teams, Mr. Flores has determined that the only way to effectuate real change is through the courts, where the NFL's conduct can be judged on a jury of Mr. Flores' peers, judgment that is long overdue. Let me get to a couple
it's
more.
not even
Yeah,
just
go
the
ahead,
Giants
Louis.
then. That's not even the
Yeah.
Giants then. That's like he's
The NFL.
basically he's calling out the entirety of the NFL for
Wow.
basically saying that they're not being treated fairly.
Yeah, and I'm just let me skim through this a little bit because a lot of this is like context, right? And I think that most of the people watching this are aware of the way that hiring practices and stuff work in the most part for the NFL. So I'm trying to because this is a long. This might be something we might have to.
Oh no, yeah,
dissect.
this is a
Yeah.
very, very long
Yeah,
document.
we're gonna have to dissect more of this on tomorrow's show. But I would say, is there anything else, Lewis, that you've seen as far as, and obviously this is a big thing, right? There are implications against the NFL as a whole, the New York Giants specifically for the way that they hired Brian Daboll, because it sounds like the allegation there is they were using basically the Rooney Rule as a farce, right?
And they had already told Daboll it's your job before they even hired Flores.
Yeah,
Which
so
I'm sure happens all the time, honestly.
Yeah, and I know that this is all everybody, all the reporters are digesting this at the same time because this just came out. Is there anything else you know about how this might affect the Miami Dolphins? You mentioned the allegation of Stephen Ross literally offering Flores extra money to tank. Is there anything else in here that you know of that may implicate the Dolphins in something?
If there's any proof of this, and that Flores actually did offer him the cash, if there's any proof of this, it's very difficult for me to imagine Ross being able to keep the team, because at this point you're basically calling him out on the carpet. And if it's true that he did that, that means that Ross violated so many NFL rules. The Dolphins themselves are going to be punished, and I would not be surprised if those 2 first-round picks we were touting just next season, one or both, are gone. Because this is like, you're basically, not only are you defeating the spirit of the game, right? Like everybody, we talked about that when they actually were doing the tanking. Like it goes against the spirit of the NFL, right? You shouldn't try to lose. Now, not only were you trying to lose, you were paying the head coach to lose. And if that's the case, maybe that's why Ross was already mad at Flores, because he didn't do what he was told. He won 5 games.
Yeah. And by the way, Lewis, when I was scanning, I think I found the part that pertains to the Dolphins. So let me read this here, because I know everybody in this chat wants to hear more about this. This is point number 14 of the document. In January 2022, Mr. Flores, who spent 3 years as the head coach of defendant Miami Dolphins. So the Miami Dolphins are all 32 teams are defendants here, but the Dolphins listed as a defendant, found himself without a job. He was fired by the Dolphins after leading the team to its first back-to-back winning season since 2003. The purported basis for his termination was alleged poor collaboration. In reality, the writing had been on the wall since Mr. Flores' first season as head coach of the Dolphins, when he refused his owner's directive to quote-unquote tank for the first pick in the draft. Indeed. And I want to remind everybody, by the way, this is an allegation. Like this is the perspective. I'm not saying it's necessarily wrong, but I want everyone to know these are allegations by Flores and his legal team here. Indeed, during the 2019 season, they write, Miami's owner, Stephen Ross, told Mr. Flores, this is a big allegation. Ross told Flores that he would pay him $100,000 for every loss. And the team's general manager, Chris Greer, told Mr. Flores that Steve was mad that Mr. Flores' success, that he was mad that Mr. Flores' success in winning games that year was compromising the team's draft position. Point number 15. After the end of the 2019 season, Mr. Ross began to pressure Mr. Flores to recruit a prominent quarterback in violation of league tampering rules. Mr. Flores repeatedly refused to comply with these improper directives. Undeterred, in the winter of 2020, Mr. Flores invited Mr. Ross onto a yacht for lunch. Shortly after he arrived, Mr. Ross told Mr. Flores that the prominent quarterback was conveniently arriving at the marina. Obviously, Mr. Ross had attempted to, and by the way, this has got to be about Deshaun Watson. They're not naming him in here, but I would assume it's Watson. Obviously, they write Mr. Ross.
2020, though, that was the year that Tua was drafted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, you're right about that. Good on you for the time. So Lewis, who do you think it was in 2020 then? You have any idea? Was it Brady? Because was that right before Brady went to Tampa? I wonder if it was Brady.
Well, the only thing I can think of now is I'm going to go ahead and look up who were some guys that were available at the time. Drew Brees was open. Tom Brady was open.
Brady.
Let me see. I'm trying to look down the list here for quarterbacks.
Okay, you look at it. I'm gonna keep reading a little bit more.
Cam, Dak Prescott, Phillip Rivers.
I would have loved to have had Rivers down here.
That's about it, though. Aside from those guys, there's literally nobody that is like a high-profile guy, unless the idea is that tampering is that they were trying to convince a guy to want to ask for a trade.
Oh, that could be. Yeah. So Mr. Flores said Mr. Flores refused the meeting and left the yacht immediately. After the incident, Mr. Flores was treated with disdain and held out as someone who was non-compliant and difficult to work with. From that point forward, Mr. Flores was ostracized and ultimately he was fired. He was subsequently defamed throughout the media and the league as he was labeled by the Dolphins brass as someone who is difficult to work with. This is reflective of an all too familiar, quote unquote, angry black man stigma that is often casted upon black men who are strong in their morals and convictions, while white men are coined as passionate for those very same attributes.
I don't know about the media. I don't know about the media part, because I remember distinctly that before all this stuff came out, and even still, the Dolphins were absolutely ripped to shreds for firing Brian Flores, up and down, man. Like, even after the stuff came out about him supposedly being hard to work with, there were still a lot of people who were like, the Dolphins were absolutely stupid to fire this guy. Yeah. So.
Yeah, you're right. I think he got mostly favorable coverage, but there were definitely people, it's not like everybody was against him, but there were definitely people that did paint this narrative about him being difficult to work with. And it sounds like they're probably blaming the Dolphins for leaking that. Let me see.
And let's be clear about something. Even before this all went down, you and I and everybody else who has ever covered the Dolphins, we have pointed out some things about Brian Flores we didn't like. His personality wasn't necessarily one of the top ones, but again, I questioned his personnel decisions.
I don't like that he couldn't build a staff. That was my big complaint.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that Brian Flores did that was good, and there was a lot of stuff that he did that was not good. So, but now with this coming out now, it's very difficult for anybody. Like, if you wanted Jim Harbaugh, forget it. If you wanted Mike McDaniel, I don't think he's going to touch this place with a 10-foot pole. In fact, I would think that the Dolphins need to take the year off at this point, because it's like there's nobody is going to want to come in here and coach right now.
Yeah,
nobody.
Yeah.
And the Giants, wow. I'm wondering if Brian Daboll is like, what did I just get myself into?
Yeah, and listen, I mean, some of these things are maybe hard to prove, but obviously, what could be the smoking gun there that could really, really, really make the Dolphins look bad? It would be a scandal. Is if they can prove it, that Stephen Ross offered him an extra $100,000 per loss in 2019 and then was mad that he won too many games. Like that's the type of scandal where that'll ruin Stephen Ross's reputation, at least in NFL circles. Maybe his real estate guys will still, oh, this guy's great. But in NFL circles, that would forever tarnish his reputation, right? So,
and not only that, wow. So now what happens? So remember, this is what happened. When people say that they want Ross to sell the team, keep in mind, he already has somebody lined up to take the team when he's done.
Yeah.
So now what happens to this heir connected to Ross? Does he even get the chance, or do you have to sell it to somebody completely independent at this point?
Wow. Alex M writes, Bullygate, cocaine sniffing coaches, racism, crazy bong hitting draft picks, crazy eyes. I love this team. I mean, oh my God. And again, everything that we read in that lawsuit It's alleged. None of this stuff has been proven, at least not
yet.
yet, or
But
corroborated, at least not
holy
yet.
smokes, though, Donno.
Holy smokes. Yeah.
This is crazy.
I mean, if there's truth to the tampering story was one thing, but it's like with tampering, I do believe that happens quite a bit.
Oh yeah, remember the Dolphins. The Dolphins have a history of tampering, if you really think about it, because all the way back with the Baltimore Colts and Don Shula, like they did that a long time ago.
Right.
So, but this is more than tampering. This is basic. It's very difficult to see. Oh yeah, this is all to us. Absolutely. Whatever, man. Whatever.
I knew that was coming. Oh man, and I guess B Smokey is just figuring out why Flores's name is trending. Brian Flores is suing the National Football League. He is alleging racism. And by the way, the reason why I closed the document out of screen share is I finished the part about the Dolphins because I read the last sentence about the Dolphins, then it goes on to the Giants. But he and his lawyer they've accused the Giants of deciding on Brian Daboll before they even interviewed Flores, thus, completely making a mockery of the Rooney Rule, which unfortunately we see happen a lot.
Do you want something else, Donno?
Yeah, I do.
So Adam Beasley just tweeted this out, and again, all of this is just speculation. There's no proof of this.
Yeah.
But the rumor, it's from Beasley. The rumor in Miami has long been that Brady would have picked the Dolphins over the Bucs if not for Brian Flores being the coach. So there maybe
he didn't meet him at the marina, and I even said, I mistakenly said Watson first because I didn't realize the timeline. But then as soon as Lewis said 2020, I said it must have been Brady. I wonder if it was Brady. Brady wanted to live in Florida. He ended up in Tampa.
Mm-hmm. So Who knows? Miami could have had the Tom Brady if Flores had not refused the whole. But even then, it's just like. It still doesn't excuse if that's what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like, more than ever, is just further proof that the real problem in the organization is not Chris Grier. It's not the head coach. It's not the quarterback. In reality, it's the owner. Because if Ross tried to implement this entire thing, if he tried to, and that would explain why Grier survived for so long.
Mm-hmm.
If you really think about it, maybe he's the only one who would tolerate all this black market stuff.
Man, I hate the fact that I've got to go in a couple minutes because I feel like I wish we had started the show at like 4:10, like right when this was all coming out, because I can't stay around much longer. Oh my God. So I can assure everybody in this chat right now, 5 Reasons Sports, our network is going to have you covered. Like I wish I could stay on for 2 more hours to talk.
I would not be surprised if 3 yards per carry has an emergency pod very soon.
Yeah. Absolutely. And just a quick recap for those just tuning in. Brian Flores is suing the NFL, and part of his complaint specifically is against the Miami Dolphins, who just terminated him. Flores is claiming that in 2019, Stephen Ross was angry that he didn't tank well enough, even offered him $100,000 bonus per loss that season, and was then angry that they won as many games as they did, that it hurt their draft position. He also accused Stephen Ross of trying to get Brian Flores to be complicit in tampering to woo a certain big name quarterback. And Flores refused to take the meeting because he said it's tampering. I'm not going to do it. So those are the 2 big allegations against the Miami Dolphins. And then there's allegations about the New York Giants hiring practices and some other things we haven't even had a chance to comb through yet. So if this stuff, especially the $100,000 per loss, if that can be proven or corroborated, this looks really bad. This is going to be a scandal. Like if you thought
there's going to be an investigation of this, I guarantee it. And
Ted Wells, what's Ted Wells doing right now? Get Ted Wells in there now.
The Dolphins are going to be punished for this, Donno.
Yeah,
I guarantee it.
We may not have Grier collected all these draft picks. We're going to have to give all of them right back. We're not going to have a draft pick for 5 years. Oh no. Lewis, you are amazing, because I'm not. If you hadn't popped back in the private chat, I don't even know if I would have seen this until I signed off, because I was about to sign off. Thank you so much, sir. And yeah, guys, be glued to the network the rest of the day. I guarantee you, there's going to be more content on 5 Reasons YouTube. 3 yards per carry. They're going to have to organize an emergency pod. 5reasonsports.com. We're going to have coverage on this. If I could stay on all day, I would. I've got to pick up my kids, so I do have to depart in a moment. But Louis D. Sung, follow him on Twitter at Louis D. Sung, and check out his work at 5reasonsports.com. Thank you so much.
All right.
Wow. How about that? How about a little scandal for your Tuesday? Well, Julio, what is this about? You guys are clowns. We're trying to bring you breaking news and dissect. How about you're a clown, Julio Alonso? How about that? If Crump defends Flores, he will beat the NFL. All right, let me throw out some more shout outs. Alex M. Julio, thank you for watching, even though you come in here and trash us. I don't know what your deal is. We love you anyway. Rafa, thank you so much. Donald, thank you. JC1311, this is a big time scandal. I agree. I mean, this is a bombshell. Brian Flores is taking no prisoners here in this lawsuit. Wow. I am very curious now, the next couple of days, some of these Dolphins content creators who just who bash Flo left and right, how they're going to react to this. And again, these are all allegations. None of this stuff has been proven, but these are heavyweight allegations Flo is making against the Dolphins, the Giants, the NFL. I'm looking forward to seeing how some of the Chris Greer apologists and the Flores haters are going to be handling this. So I'm going to have my popcorn ready. I'm going to be watching a lot of people's content the next couple of days. You're going to find out who the frauds are, who the people with agendas are, and who the people are who cover things fairly and balanced. You're going to know that within the next couple of days. Johnny Be Good, thank you so much. He says the NFL will hush this up. They might. They'll get Ted Wells in there for some like crackerjack investigation. We'll see what comes out of that. Although, if any of this stuff can be corroborated, the NFL may want to turn the Miami Dolphins into a sacrificial lamb. Like they may want to make an example out of us. Donald, thank you so much. Tony 2 times, my guy, he says, let's be real. This is why Greer is always employed in Miami. He's willing to go with the ownership and break some rules. He's the fixer, right? He is. He's the yes man. He's the fixer. B Smokey, thank you so much for tuning in. Matt Street or Matt Saint, thank you so much. That's why Ross brought in the New England Patriots guys to woo Brady in 2020. Also, he probably thought, if I bring in Patriots guys, they know how to cheat, right? That if a Patriot guy is going to want to go along with some rule bending because they've done that before. He never met Flo, a man of moral integrity, allegedly. Jay Bone, thank you so much. Nicole, thank you so much. So now the NFL has to hire black coaches, not the best available. Well, the thing is, like, the Rooney Rule is there, and unfortunately, they make a circus out of it. So this is not even a question of hiring, by race versus the best candidate. Like the Rooney Rule is just it. Too many teams make a joke out of it. I think that's the real issue here. K Jack says Greer has a ton of dirt on Ross. Yeah, maybe he was hiding some of this dirt. Donald, I think I shouted you out already. David, thank you so much for tuning in. AD, I love your initials. Just like Miami to be the first place loser. I'm definitely not going to have time to shout out everybody today, so I apologize. My guy Level 2 Noob finds a way to bring it all back to Tua. God bless you for that narrative. Let's see. Who else have I not shouted out yet? A lot of conversations in there, which I love. Shane Trent, thank you so much for tuning in. Jonathan, thank you so much for watching today. This ended up being an extra loaded show because we had scandal dropping at the very end of the show. Again, I wish I could stay on longer than I did. Dolphin82, this is embarrassing. It is embarrassing. If any of this stuff can be proven, it is absolutely embarrassing. And you got to think from Flo's perspective, only a psycho would make all of this up, right? So if he's alleging a bunch of false stories and narratives that he's just creating to make the Dolphins look bad, then he is a sociopath. So I'd like to think, for his sake, that there's some truth to these allegations. But as a Dolphin fan, I'd like to think there's no truth to the allegations. Oh, man. Let's see. Who else? Welch. My guy, thank you so much. I guess he's saying were the Broncos mentioned in this as well. I'm not sure if he was talking about this story or something else. So I don't want to misconstrue his context. J Mill, 845. Thank you so much for tuning in. Walter Flores, any relation to the plaintiff in this case? He related to Brian Flores. Good thing. Good things. I don't know. Oh, he's saying F Flores, I guess. So I guess Walter Flores is not a fan of Brian Flores. Coco, Crisp, John, thank you so much for tuning in. It was a busy day in the chat, by the way. John Marco, thank you so much. Marcus, thank you so much for tuning in. We even had in the chat, we had some famous NFL quarterbacks. Zach Wilson was in the chat. Tua showed up in the chat. Baker Mayfield showed up in the chat. Mac Jones showed up in the chat today. So this was the most event. We had superstars watching us today. We had celebrity NFL quarterbacks watching the show and chatting today. So we thank you guys. JM Deanda, thank you so much for tuning in. Let me throw out a couple more and then I got to run. Like I'm going to have to explain to my 4-year-old when I pick him up late, like, hey, Brian Flores is suing the NFL. You had to wait at daycare a little longer, kid. Toughen up, all right? It's a cruel world out there. Chuck Cooper, who I think told us he was watching for the first time and subscribed today. Thank you so much. Caesar, thank you so much. Whiskey Chris, thank you for watching today. Oogie, thank you so much for watching today. Yeah, he was one of the first people, even before I saw the story. I think there were a few people, Oogie included, who were talking about these allegations. Jason, thank you so much. Jason Stavros. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I pronounced it correctly. My brother-in-law, my sister's husband, is Greek. So I do not speak Greek, but I can usually do decent when I see a Greek name because I've seen a lot of them before because of family connections. Craig, thank you so much for tuning in. And let me do one more. I'll do one more. We'll do one. You're going to do one. One more shout out, and then we will wrap it up. Indeed. I think he was the first person to say it. Flores suing the NFL, Giants, and the Dolphins. How about them apples? And yeah, huge thanks to everybody who joined us today. Lewis Sung, awesome job, and he's the one who brought in an official capacity this news to my attention. Taco Vailoa, Dave Friedman, Taco About Sports, thank you so much. And Brady Hawk, who is the man covering the NBA on this network. We will talk to you guys again tomorrow. I have a feeling I know what tomorrow's episode is going to be about, right? We're going to be talking about this. Oh, VLKV, thank you so much as well. And Chris Brewer, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you guys again tomorrow on another episode of Donno Daily on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. We'll talk all about the alleged scandal tomorrow. We will see you then. Ciao.